I'm in the dining room now, and I'd like to show you the Japanese calligraphy that was done by a friend of ours years ago. I believe this one says Bailey, and this one says thank you. So thank you to the Greens Japan for their hospitality. All the material I'm going over here verbally is in written form in the report that I'm submitting to Greens US, and I hope you'll look for it in the at my local Green Party, which is the Allegheny County Greens. I'll give you that information at the end. I'm ready to finish the review of 311 events. In an effective world, the nuclear fuel sector of the global economy would be made up of commercial vendors, government regulators, and the general public as consumers. The government regulators would make decisions based upon the common good as the first priority. Today, the nuclear fuel sector within the United States and Japan does not have this balance. The commercial vendors and government regulators make up what many in the green movement call the nuclear power village. Members of this community have a shared economic motive to promote nuclear fission. So what are 4 facts, and why do we think UNESCO and the IAEA must act now? First, monitors working with the UN Human Rights Council have determined that residents of Japan have been denied a healthy workplace and a healthy natural environment. For 8 years, the Japanese government has been unable or unwilling to reduce the maximum radiation dose in Japan to 1 millisievert per year. Second fact, the INES scale has had a second event. Radioactive cooling water has been leaking out of 3 Fukushima Station reactors and into the Pacific Ocean since 3/11. As a result, the Japanese government has declared a second INES emergency. This one is a level 3. Third is SafeCast. SafeCast.org shows real-time radiation dose rates for Japanese residents. By looking at their online tile map, everyone can see that the Abe administration does not have Fukushima Station's radiation releases under control. SafeCast is www.safecast.org. Fourth and final fact is that 17 experts in radiation biology and the operation of nuclear reactors sent a letter to Ban Ki-moon, United Nations General Secretary, in 2013. The writers urged the UN to take immediate action to address and mitigate the radiation contamination at Fukushima Station. But that was 6 years ago. It has to be done now. So the fourth portion of my report is entitled, Do the United Nations and the IAEA Control Fukushima Station? I would argue that both of them do. First, under the United Nations Charter, UNESCO is responsible to deal with environmental issues on behalf of the United Nations, and the General Assembly is responsible to take legislative action if they think it's necessary. The IAEA, however, was created by a second separate international treaty called the International Atomic Energy Treaty in 1957. we feel that the combination of these two definitely permit the UN and the IAEA to take action. Specifically, the IAEA in the 1957 treaty is given the ability to, begin quotes, to acquire or establish any facilities, plant and equipment useful in carrying out its authorized functions whenever the facilities, plant and equipment otherwise available to it in the area concerned are inadequate, end quote. We're arguing the facilities, plant and equipment in Fukushima Prefecture is clearly inadequate, and that the IAEA therefore has the power to take action to acquire those facilities. The IAEA also regulates maximum radiation doses around the world. The IAEA is responsible for the International Nuclear and Radiological Event Scale, which we've been calling INES. Now that Japan has 2 INES scale emergencies, the IAEA needs to act. But our most powerful information is the precedent set in 1990. After the Chernobyl accident in 1986, the 3 countries, Belarus, Ukraine, and the Soviet Union, came to the UN and asked for help. The United Nations, the UNESCO passed a resolution in 1990, as did the General Assembly, and both resolutions sounded a call for worldwide action of necessity to, begin quotes, address and mitigate the unprecedented nature of the radiological and environmental disaster, end quote, at Chernobyl. We now have a radiological and environmental disaster in Japan. So what is the status of these open letters today? In the open letter to both the IOC and the Athletes Commission, we ask these bodies to meet with members of Greens US and Greens Japan to discuss our 4 facts. We also requested the IOC to transfer the 2020 Olympic Games out of Japan due to the radiation contamination. This was emailed to Kit and Randall, US delegate to the IOC. Ultimately, Kit McConnell, IOC Director of Sports Department, responded to our open letter on February 14, 2019. Kit's response is in our written materials that I'll give you the link to at the end. On January 21, 2019, Stephen Forchinsky and I carried our open letter to Rhonda King, President of the United Nations Economic and Social Council in New York City. Stephen is a New Mexico state delegate to Greens US, the International Committee. Our open letter requested an audience with UNESCO to discuss the ideas expressed in our open letter. We then walked over to the U.S. mission to the United Nations. We met with 2 employees of the mission that day and gave them a copy of our UNESCO open letter. Finally, we toured the United Nations building and saw the meeting room of UNESCO. We would love to be in that room and to hear these issues discussed by UNESCO members and invited speakers. On July 26, 2019, I traveled to Tokyo and met several members of Greens Japan. Riki Adachi set up this meeting for me. As International Secretary, his help was very important. I spoke with Mayabe Akira and Riko Kondo. Kiko Agata translated via Skype. How lucky I was to travel halfway around the world and meet such kind people who shared many of my own beliefs and experiences. Later the same day, I traveled by bullet train to Fukushima City. There I met my friend Hiroko Ahira. Hiroko is a resident of that city and also a freelance journalist. She and I drove east on Route 114 out of Fukushima City towards Kawamata and the mountains. Kawamata lies inside the Japanese exclusion zone, as does Naimi Town and National Route 6 that we visited later that day. On National Route 6, we were within sight of the tops of cranes that were housed at Fukushima Station. Greens US also advocates for citizen involvement in siting and operation of the ultimate remediation facilities that are going to have to be built in Japan, a place where decommissioning can take place. The current German plan to combine government, local citizens, and commercial vendors to make these decisions should be the model to be followed, in our opinion. In addition, appropriate renewable energy collectors should share the remediation site to gain dual-use economics. To date, neither Stephen nor I have been contacted by UNESCO, the U.S. mission to the UN, or the Athletes Commission. These open letters and my research are collected and available on the website maintained by my local Green Party, which is the Green Party of Allegheny County website. Our address is AlleghenyCountyGreens.org, and Allegheny is ALLEGHENY. If you go to that website and then look for working groups across the top menu bar, click on that, and then you'll see Green Energy Working Group. That's the one to hit. The videos I made with Hiroko while driving and a March 2019 Greens Japan video featuring Ms. Hibishi are also linked there. Finally, a call to action. I have nothing additional to say other than what I've already been saying. Please contact Kit McConnell at the IOC and contact the Athletes Commission of the IOC. Contact Mana Juul, Juul. She is the current president of UNESCO, and I believe she's from Norway. Please contact the U.S. mission to the UN. Tell these people what you believe has happened and what they should do as a result. The more opinions these people hear from citizens around the globe, the more likely they will be to take the difficult steps to implement resource sustainability as a priority. If we all do this, we will become the proactive stewards our clean air, pure water, and healthy soil need. Thanks. Good luck.